Hi, welcome to Advent of Refactoring Day 10. So here is a JSON file captured from an endpoint, and this endpoint is like a paginated endpoint. It's getting events page by page. Here's the results, and then at the end of each result gives you like a next URL which tells you the next page of results to get. We've no idea how many pages there are. Could be hundreds, could be thousands, and we need to get sort of the top 50 of them and do stuff with them. So we've got here a function. We're working in JavaScript today, but all of the stuff we're talking about works equally well in Python. So this events lookup table, what we're trying to do here is fetch the top 50 results, do some filtering on them, and then put them into a lookup table so you can find them by ID in the local JavaScript stuff. So we've got the events lookup table here, it's empty, the initial URL, a counter, because we only want to get 50, and we'll just stop when we've got more. Then while the counter is less than 50, fetch the first page of results, get the JSON from it, then go through each of the items in the results, then exclude any, do the filtering stuff, and then add the item to the lookup table, increase the counter. Then if the counter's got to more than 50, then quit. Then that's finished all the results in the current page. Then we check to see if the current page has any new results, like another page to come. If it does, update the URL to be the next one, and then goes through the loop again, does the same thing again and again and again. And at the end, we return the events lookup table. If we were working with lots of other models, we might have a lot of this logic duplicated lots of times. Say we've got a tickets endpoint, which also is paginated, and we've got to fetch a bunch of things. We've got a users endpoint, which is paginated, and we've got to fetch a bunch of things. We've got a venues endpoint, which is paginated. So it feels like we've got a lot of duplication of things there. And this function itself has a lot of different pieces all mixed up together. We've got the three things that are going on here. We've got the fetching paginated results. Then we've got sort of joining the paginated results together. So that's sort of a sub part of that top one. Next, we've got filtering the results and limiting to 50. And then finally, I've got building the lookup table. So three relatively distinct pieces of concept. The trouble is, if we try to split them, we realize they're very intertangled in what they need to do. Like, how many pages do you need to fetch? Because you don't know how many pages you need to fetch until you've started filtering them. The building the lookup table bit, that's distinct and separate. It's not a problem. So how could we reorganize this in some way so that the different pieces of functionality are separate, even though they kind of need to know about each other? Luckily, there are tools for doing this. And the one that we're going to look at today is called generators, or generator functions. And Python and JavaScript both have generator functions of different types, async generators and all sorts, which is kind of what we need today. So let's start off with a single generator which fetches paginated results and joins them together. So start off with an async function, just like normal. But if we add a star on the end, it turns it into a generator. So then we're going to say fetch all the paginated results, and start off with some kind of initial URL. Inside the async generator, we can yield something to return that back to the previous, like the thing that calls it, and then you can jump through them. So like here, we're iterating through the data results. You can iterate through all of the things that you yield. You can yield multiple things at a time. So what we need to do here then is we're going to say let the current URL equal the initial URL. So give it to start. Then while true, because this is going to be looping forever, const response equals await fetch URL. So that's what we've got here, and then the data is the await the response JSON bit. So let's grab those, and we'll actually just copy them in here while we're going. So that's the first bit, same as we had here. And then we need to do something with all of those results. Well, we could say something like for const item in data dot results yield item like that to return them one at a time. But there's also a bit of a shortcut we can do here, which is just yield star data dot results. So that will yield each of the results inside data one at a time. Once we've yielded all of those individual results, we can then say if the data.next exists, if there is a new URL to come after that, then URL equals data.next. Otherwise, break. We can quit. We don't have anything else to give. So this fetch all the paginated results thing is now completely agnostic as to what it's getting, and it will just keep on yielding results while there are pages. So it'll go forever. If you've got 4,000 pages of results, it will keep on going for 4,000 pages. But it will only do that if you actually request them. If you ask this thing for the next result, it will get it. If you stop asking for results, it'll stop fetching. So we've got that. Let's leave that alone. It's happy where it is. Now we can build another one of these async generators to actually do the filtering. Async function, make the async generator, then filter valid events, items and maximum, because those are the two bits we need. We need to know how many things to fetch and the list of things. So this filter valid items one, then we can say let counter equals 0. So again, let's try copying the bits out of here, shall we? So I'll just grab that from there, and then what we need to do is loop through all of those individual items for await const item of items. So we're going to pass in the items and loop through all the things. Then let's grab this line here, this exclude filtery thing. Let's copy that, paste that in. Then we can say yield item. There we go. And then we can say this bit here, the increase the counter and break if it's too long. So there we go. Got, oops. So we've now gone through all the things and filtered them out. So this function here, that doesn't need to be 50, does it? We can just say maximum, because we're passing it in as a parameter now. So we've now split apart these two sections here. Fetching paginated results, which could work for any type of object, as long as it's in the same format. And then filtering valid events, which is filtering all of those. So then the last bit is actually building a lookup table of some sort. So to do that then, we're going to need to just get those two bits we've got so far and hook them all together. So let's get rid of this list of things here, and we'll leave, because we've handled all of that above. So these are the only bits to build a lookup table of things. To build a lookup table, should make a separate little function here. So we can say function make lookup table of items, and the lookup field. So then we can say const lookup table equals empty object. Then we can say for const item of items, lookup table item lookup field equals item return lookup table. So now we've got a very generic lookup table maker. So finally, let's get here to putting these three things all together. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. and we probably do need some kind of return at the end. So let's build the thing together, shall we? What we can say here is then const items equals filter valid events. So that's our filter we had before. And what we're going to pass into it is the, what was it called? It was fetch all the paginated results. So fetch all the paginated results and pass it in the URL. The filter then needs to know how many the maximum is, so we'll say 50. And that's now got us our list of things. So now what we can do is just convert that into our lookup table. So we can say return make lookup table items. And the field we want to use for the lookup table is ID. So now our events lookup table is just 3 lines, and probably could all be converted into a single line if you really felt like it. And all of the stuff that's in here is related to hooking the pieces together. Make lookup table, all it's worrying about is making a lookup table. It doesn't care about the type of item, it doesn't care about the field of the item, all it does is just make this table. You could reduce this to a single line as well, pretty much, using object from entries. The filter valid events is the only thing that actually cares about it being an event, because it has the logic inside it for knowing what are valid events. And it doesn't care about how many it wants either, because you're passing that in as a function parameter. Fetching all of the paginated results also doesn't care about the type of data at all. All it needs is an initial URL and for it to have a next and results. So this is more code than we started with, but each of the individual functions now handles a single distinct piece of functionality. And we're using these generators in order to have streams of data that we're processing rather than having to fetch all of them in one go. So yeah, some interesting tools for refactoring, and I hope you found that interesting.